greetings from Bulgaria. Today, I got inspired for a third video from our JUnit course. I have just finished this awesome book about Java module system, so I got inspired about it. So let's begin. Let me just share my screen. In our JUnit tutorial for beginners, I'm going to warn you how to write awesome JUnit tests together with Selenium, and later how to execute them in the cloud. Till now, we talked about what is JUnit, why you should care, why you should use it. Then I introduced you how to set up your environment. And I was thinking in the third video to talk about annotations and assertions in a combined video. However, I believe that both of these topics are quite huge, as you will see in this video. So in this video, we are going to talk about annotations in JUnit. Let me just, for a couple of seconds, share what we talked about previously. And basically, we had this calculator app that just has one simple method, right, for adding two numbers. And here in the JUnit class, I added two JUnit tests, and we only needed to mark them with this annotation called test in order to mark them as tests so that we can run them, right? So this was part of our second video. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There are many awesome tutorials for different technologies. And yeah, click the subscribe button below so that you get notified. And yeah, I created, by the way, below, you will find many links with the different parts of the video. Also, you will be able to download the whole source code, so check the description for more information. So, I created a special for every chapter of our course. There will be a special folder in the GitHub repo. So I created a new folder called Chapter 3. And the first thing that we are going to talk about annotations before writing a simple Selenium test is that, as you know, we need to start the browser, then we need to close it. And JUnit 5 gives us, annotations to mark different methods, to execute logic before all of the tests, before each test, right? And we have these special annotations here. When you create a static method, I call this setup class. I marked it as static, and I put this before all annotation. This means that this method will be executed only once for all of the tests in my test class. When you use the before each annotation, however, as you can see, this is not a static method. This will be executed before each test here, before each test. I need to mark this as test as well. So this method will be executed only once for the both tests, and this method will be executed before each of these two. And of course, we have similar annotations. After each, we will execute after this test, then after this test. Usually, if you want to reuse one browser for the whole test class, we're going to start it here in the before all, and we'll close it in the end. However, usually we want to restart the browser every time. So as you will see in the next chapters, we're going to start the browser here and close it here. And if we need to create some kind of a test data, usually we initialize and create the data here in the database, or we call it web APIs. And then we are, deleting it and clearing it in the after all. I put this system out prints to the console so that you can see the whole execution. Now I'm going to run the tests. And as you can see, the before all was executed only once. Then we have two executions of the before each, before the first test and then before the second. The same for the after each. and then we have only once after all. Also, something really important about the test instance lifecycle in JUnit 5. In order to allow individual test methods to be executed in isolation and to avoid unexpected side effects due to mutable test instance state, JUnit creates a new instance of each test class before executing each test method. This per method test instance lifecycle is the default behavior of JUnit 5, and it's similar to all previous versions of JUnit. However, if you prefer that JUnit 5 execute all test methods on the same instance, you need to annotate your test class. This is why I mentioned it. We have a special annotation called TestInstance. We just need to import this class here and change it to per class. When using this mode, a new test instance will be created once per class. Thus, if your test methods rely on a state stored in instance variables, you may need to reset that state in before each or after each methods. And the per class mode has some additional benefits over the default per method mode. Specifically, you don't need, when you use it, to mark this before all and after all is static. This means that you can use them basically in base classes if you create for the tests, which is really awesome. Also, during this, chapter, we're going to talk that basically this meta information, metadata through the annotations basically allow you to configure specifics about the test or test classes. However, there is one more way so that you can put global settings for your JUnit. And we put these global settings here in JUnit platform.properties. As you can see, I already created it. It's empty. And why I mention it? Because there is a special global setting for configuring all the test classes to be in this per method or per class test lifecycle, and you can put it here. It's called JUnit Jupyter Test Instance Lifecycle Default, and then you mention per class or per method. Now, another awesome attribute annotation that you can use, it's called repeated test. As you know, especially when you are creating automated tests, you want to make sure that your test is really stable. And yeah, basically, you want to execute it many times to see whether it's, whether it's stable or not, whether it's not a flaky test. So you can use this repeated test annotation. Here, this test will be repeated 10 times. Here, I will run it. And as you see here at the bottom, we have 10 types of repetition. Also, you can change the display name. For example, you can change it like this. There is a special setting of this annotation. If we run it now, as you'll see, we have changed a bit the name, or you can create a custom name using this annotation like this: display name, current repetition, total repetitions, or you can have it with underscores as you want, or like this, right? This is again part of JUnit 5. Yeah, we need to make it 10. Let's run it again. And voila, we changed the name, right? Also in JUnit 5, there is a special, another special annotation that allows you to basically change the display name of the tests. For example, like this. This is something totally different. Test. We can name it like this: test edition different numbers, right? If I run it, here the name will be different. And this annotation is really awesome, by the way, because you can put symbols like this, or I don't suggest you to do so, but you can even put emojis here, right? It's really awesome. Also, there is JUnit 5 supports custom display name generators that can be configured via the display name generation annotation. And keep in mind that the values put here in the display name annotation always take precedence over the display names generated by this display name generator. Let me show you. As you can see here, I put on purpose, there is an underscore. However, you can rename it like this, display name generation. We put it on top of the class. And there are a few modes. Simple, after the dot, there is autocomplete. There is simple, standard, replace underscores if it's symbol, it removes the trailing parentheses for the methods with no parameters. I'm going to show you the replace underscores. Basically, this will replace the underscore with spaces, right? Let's run all of the tests. And as you can see, there is no underscore now. Awesome. Another really useful annotation that I use quite often is the tag annotation. The tag annotation allows us to mark the tests, and later during the command line execution continuous integration, we can use these tags to filter on specific feature, or the most frequent usage is to mark the tests whether they're continuous integration or nightly run, right? Usually in continuous integration, we run the most important tests, for example, 20 of them, and then during the nightly run, only once per day, we're running all of the tests, all of the 1,000 tests that you may have. So you can put the tag on specific tests, or you can directly put it on top of the class. This means that now all of the tests here are nightly run. And also keep in mind that JUnit 5 annotations can be used as meta annotations. What this means? That means that you can define your own composite annotation that will automatically inherit the semantics of its meta annotations. For example, instead of copy pasting everywhere this tag nightly run, you can create a custom annotation called nightly run. And this nightly run can be then used as a replacement for this tag. Let me show you. You will get it right away. So here under Java JUnit demo, I'm going to create a JUnit class dot nightly run. I'm going to add it to source control, and then directly I'm going to copy it. As you can see, it's under the same package. It uses this special syntax that it's basically about creating annotations, and I just put here the tag. And afterwards, how I use it, instead of using everywhere this tag nightly run, I can use directly my new annotation nightly run, and directly it will always have this tag there. You can even take one step further by introducing a custom nightly run test annotation that can be used as a replacement for these two, because now I need to put them all together, right? So let's create this nightly run test annotation. Here, I create a new class, nightly run test. I'm adding it to source control. And as you can see, it's test annotation and tag annotation, nightly run test. And now, instead of putting these two, I just need to use the nightly run. I can create a similar one for continuous integration test, right? Now, another useful annotation is the timeout annotation. As you know, many often there are many end-to-end tests that are executing for quite a long time, and we want at some point to fail the test if the timeout has been exceeded. So JUnit has and give you this possibility using this timeout annotation here. For me, this syntax is a bit unreadable. What is this 5 means? It's milliseconds, seconds, right? This is why I prefer to use the another version where I'm mentioning I need just to import. Here we have the value and the time unit. As a time unit, we have hours, seconds. Usually I use seconds. And here we can mention 60 seconds, 1 minute, right? Also, there is a general timeouts for all of the methods. You have specific timeouts for before all, before each, for the different tests that you can put into these general settings. And also you can enable or disable globally these timeouts, for example, if you're debugging something. And you can use this JUnit Jupyter execution timeout mode enabled or disabled. For now, I will leave it to enabled. And also, there is a global timeout for all of the methods. As I said, there is a specific for each one of them. You can check the documentation for this, but we can set, for example, a global timeout of 60 seconds for all of them. Execution timeout default. Now, another awesome thing that you can do is, of course, you need sometimes, as you know, there are bugs, which is because of this, we are writing tests, right, to catch bugs. And sometimes you want to disable your tests when there is a bug. And of course, you can do that using the disabled attribute. By default, you're not supposed to provide a message, but usually the best practice is to put here in a comment, for example, Jira book ID equal to something, right? You put the bug ID so that you know that this is a bug, and afterwards you can, when the bug is fixed, you can remove the attribute and check whether the bug has been fixed. This is the simplest option. However, there are sometimes tests that, for example, tests that you run on a Mac to test Safari. Then you don't want to execute these tests on Windows, right? So you can use disable on operating system. Here we just need to import static constant. You can use this syntax, disable on operating system Windows, or vice versa. You can just mention enable on operating system Linux or Mac. Also, this is really an improvement compared to other programming languages. Also, there are other conditional execution options. For example, imagine that you want to execute a particular test only for particular test environment. And you put, you can get whether which is the environment from environmental variables. Then you can use this special annotation enabled if environmental variable called env, which means environment, it's stage or staging. Or, for example, you can even write it like this, that it's disabled if it's on a development. You can put here something like regex expressions. And there is one more option. For example, as you know, instead of environmental variables, you can use system properties that you can put here or pass them through the command line. Then basically you can check these system properties. And here, let's imagine that we have continuous integration, whether it's true or not. If it's true, then we're disabling this test also. And the last thing that I'm going to finish this chapter is about running your tests in a particular order. Although true unit tests and system tests typically should not rely on the order in which they are executed, there are times when this is necessary. And then we can use this order attribute. We can mention that this test is executed first, then we execute this one. And also keep in mind that basically to control the order in which test methods are executed, you can annotate your test class or test interface with the test method order notation to specify the method order implementation. Right now, if you want, the default one is the order one, right? So I can mention here test method order. And as you can see, it can be by default is order notation. However, sometimes you can mention that it's the test to be run randomly, which will be really good to, typically, you should not rely on the order in which the tests are executed, but there are times when it's desirable to enforce specific test class execution order. Also, you can, for example, run them in alphabetical order. I don't know why, but you can do that. But as I said, you may wish to execute the test classes in a random order to ensure that there are no incidental dependencies between the test classes, or you may wish to order the classes to optimize the build time. So you can write even your own test method orders, which is really awesome. And of course, there is a global setting that you can, instead of putting everything on top of every single class, and it's called, here it is, it's called test class order default. And as I said, by default, this is called class order annotation. Now, you can check Lambda test platform. It's really awesome. You can get a free trial. Later during this course, I'm going to show you how to execute your tests in parallel using the platform and use many other awesome features. In the next video from our JUnit tutorial for beginners, we are going to talk about JUnit assertions, because there are many different options that you can do. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments or in the GitHub repo. And don't forget to check the Lambda test blog. There are really awesome articles there, especially ones for JUnit. There is a complete JUnit tutorial. And see you soon.